everyone. Welcome to KMC Chat. Today I'm going to be talking with one of my great friends, Shawn Abramowitz. I met Shawn a couple years ago and we really hit it off together, and he's such a fun guy, and we have a lot of fun together. So Shawn, come on in.
Here.
There you are. Awesome. Here's a cheers to you. What do you got? Oh,
cheers. I got a beer.
All right. I got
watching my figure.
Some juice of some sort.
You know, it looks like Manischewitz, to be quite honest.
I like to shake it up each time it's different. How are you, my friend?
I am doing really well. It's been let me adjust my camera so I don't get my head cut off. There you
go.
I've been really busy. It's surprising that, you know, during this stay at home and whatnot, I thought I was going to I would have more time to watch TV, and that is not the case.
Well, but you're still working full time, right? I mean,
I am.
So for those of you who don't know, this is my friend Shawn, and we met doing some theater. So that part is always a fun part for me. But Shawn does some other great things. So Shawn, let's talk a little bit about what you do outside of the theater, and then we're going to talk about theater. But
sure.
What does Shawn do?
So I am the local sales manager for the ABC affiliate out here in Palm Springs, aka KESQ. So I have a team of account executives that go out and sell advertising for local businesses, but then also help them if they need help in regards to, does this look great? Does this not look great? Should I place my stuff that I have on sale in front of the store, or should I put it in the back of the store? Like, they're gurus. They're not salespeople. They're gurus in terms of marketing. So that is what I do. I kind of not fell into it, but my family's always been in advertising on my dad's side. And so when I left LA, because I was working for E! Entertainment out there.
You were?
Yes, I was. I was an associate producer for one season of On the Red Carpet, and then a production assistant before then in production. And I love production, but I just didn't like production, you know, then. So
really?
I decided to make a career change and get into sales, because that's what obviously my dad was good at, but then it turned into more marketing and more thinking outside the box, and I ended up over at KESQ, and so now here I am.
So what did you study in school?
I actually studied theater in school, so my degree is in theater. So I went out to LA right after college, and I was already a SAG and AFTRA member, and because I was doing commercials when I was in not high school, but commercials when I was in college. And when I went to LA, I remember, it's like, you know, Keith, have you ever had those like clear, distinct memories of like a crossroads, where if you did this, you can see your life going that way. And if you did this, you can see your life going that way.
Yeah.
That I know two specific times in my life that's happened, and this was one of them. When I first moved out to LA, I was auditioning or interviewing for a job, right? But then I was auditioning for an agent, and the job accepted me at E! Entertainment in their international department. And then the agent accepted me, and I had to make a decision. And I decided to go with E! Entertainment because I figured that why be just an actor? Why not produce your own stuff and learn how to produce and learn how, you know, production works? And so I went that route, and it took me completely in a different direction. So
you had an education in theater.
Mm-hmm.
And you end up doing actually something else.
Sort of, yeah. I mean, to me, theater is more than just being an actor on stage. I think it has a lot to do with the message that you're portraying. I think it has a lot to do with community even.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I decided to produce theater here locally, and was producing theater even in LA. Because to me, that was scratching that itch. That was fulfilling my soul, right?
Yeah, but you know, my advice always to people when they're starting out too is get a degree in something else and then get into theater. That's always been my advice, you know. But you know, you actually, but look at how it still just came around to you. So it's
Yahoo did the same thing. Yahoo said one of the top 10 worst degrees to ever get was a theater degree.
See?
But you know, I have to say this, what I learned, I went to Cal State San Bernardino, go Coyotes, woo! What I learned in theater can transcend to every every business, every kind of job you have, because if you think about it, theater, you have to be on time. There's no BSing around, right? You have to be prepared. You have to think outside the box and make things work. You can't be shy. Even if you're backstage, you can't be shy because you have to talk to people. And so those were some really good life skills that I learned in theater that I was able to carry over to my jobs now, especially with advertising and marketing.
Yeah. Have you found that the pandemic has slowed your work life down, or has it just changed it? And I mean, you haven't been out of work because of it. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So, we are, well, one, I do have some people that are in the industry that I know that are unfortunately without jobs that have been furloughed. With our company, it was a little different. We're family owned and operated. And so they're really generous and they're just amazing people. And so far, nothing's happened. We're all here. But has my job changed? No. I think the way I do my job has changed. But everything is down. I mean, I know that everybody's hurting in terms of, whether it's sales, clients, the restaurants like Willie over at 849, but he's done a great job on trying to get, back out to folks. It's a challenging time for everybody.
Businesses right now really have to look at a different way of doing business than the way they did. And it's obviously going to be tough at the beginning of it. And then we're going to take some time to get back into a norm that all of us don't have right now. I'm not working right now. It's making me crazy. So if you need help, just let me know. I'm right here.
Absolutely.
It's just a lot of, reflecting and stuff and that's why I wanted to get my KMC chats back up in a different format right now, because I got time to do it. And I appreciate those who are participating with that. And I don't
think anyone would not want to talk to you. You're just lovely to have a conversation with.
Aren't you the best in the web?
Well, let me have a little sip of more of my beer.
So I got to meet you through theater, or through some friends who took me to your theater, I believe is how that went. And
who were the friends?
I think it was Alexis.
That's right.
I believe Alexis from the LGBT Center, and I worked with her at some point in my career. And Mark, my husband, and her, and they were just like, oh, wait a minute, you gotta, then they hook us up. And then I come in to, which I love going to theater, and I've seen a lot here. And I had not seen anything from your group. And, walk in and, your whole crew is just so warm and welcoming. You got your family with you. You're beautiful. Your bride-to-be at the time I met her. She was not quite there yet, but she's such a sweetie. And you guys really just were very warm and welcoming. And then, of course, I fell in love with the theater part of what you do. And that part's great. How did you end up there?
God.
You're a founder. I mean, right? I mean, it's yours.
I'm not a founder. So DETC was technically named after it was David, Eric, Tony, and Charlie Parker. And so we're involved with DETC in the beginning of the forming, so to speak. But the first year, it was really Rosemary, Eric, and Tony and Rosemary Malley, who used to be the theater teacher over at Palm Springs High, who really kind of started the foundation of moving it to what it needs to be right now. So I joined the first year, just as an actor. Eric invited me down. He saw me in a production and said, hey, we have another production called Every Christmas Story Ever Told and Then Some, which is a comedy, and said, I'm looking for an actor that's going to speak. Were you interested in reading? I'm like, yeah. And I read it. I'm like, I like this. This is great. And then at the end of the show, he said, I'm actually, planning on leaving, because he was the executive director at the time, and said, would you be interested? Now, granted, he already knew my history, like what I did, what I've been doing, because we've talked throughout the whole entire production. And so then I got to know Tony, who's now my mentor, on a completely different level. And then finally meeting the famous Rosemary Mallett, who's just, again, phenomenal. and I just fell in love with just their vision and what they wanted to do. And, I just came in with the business end, right? Like, how do we get our nonprofit status? How do we monetize? Where can we save money? Where can we grow? And, what are we trying to do? And, through that process, the mission statement became very clear, where the first part is, of course, to produce good work that presses the barrier of our community. So to do not necessarily edgy plays, but plays that make people think, and the plays that keep people awake. I hate to go into a theater and fall asleep. Which, sad story, I did accidentally fall asleep during The Wiz, or not The Wiz. Excuse me. No, I did fall asleep during The Wiz. This is a brain fart, and I was really jet lagged. It was a really bad. I should have slept, and I didn't sleep, and unfortunately, I knocked out during the show. But I don't, as a producer and as an audience member, I hate falling asleep during a show, and so I want someone that's going to keep me up, and that's what we were doing. We were doing like Sylvia, that kept people, attracted, that kept people wanting more.
Yeah. And
then the second part of our mission, of course, was to give high school theater students on-the-job training in technical theater, which I am a huge fan of. I don't know if you've ever seen a production over at Cal State San Bernardino, because we got to. It's amazing theater and completely underrated. They do such amazing work that, I wish I could see more, to be quite honest. I wish I could go back, because I just had such a wonderful time doing productions there. But they have such a strong emphasis in technical theater. They make every actor or every theater student, if their emphasis was in acting or if their emphasis was in lighting design, to do both, so that you can have an appreciation for the art form in general, so that when you go out into the world, you can know how to string up an instrument or replace a bulb or sound design, what you should do as a writer and how you help with that, or directing. And it was so huge. And so with Desert Ensemble, with one of their focuses being on technical theater, I just attached myself to it and love it. And some of our kids, as have gone on to do some amazing things.
Yeah, what's interesting to me is, and you aren't unique in this particular instance where, you're doing things to help students. There's other groups that do this too. And I think that is so great that we have that. And, it's almost like you have like an internship program, or they come and work on your shows. They're getting all this valuable stuff. And it's a really great thing for them and then for our community, which is something that I think is great about here in Palm Springs. I see a lot of that, where it's most of these groups that I work with and my music too, is we're getting these scholarships for these kids to have them continue on in the arts and to do stuff. And it's such a positive thing for them to be doing when they can be doing God knows what else. And the kids that you have gone on and done some great things. And that's a big kudo to you and the organization, and to the other ones who actually do that in our town too. So when you got to Palm Springs, so you are from California your whole life?
Oh, whole life, California, Southern California, born and raised. I know that I don't have a tan.
You are pasty.
I am a little pasty today. It's just because I haven't been outside today. And
it's hot out there, honey. Don't go.
Yeah. I'm quick though. I'm like a simple, piece of toast. I burn easily.
Oh, well, I bet you do. Yeah.
So yes, I was actually born in Lake LA. Do you know where Lake LA is?
No.
Okay. Lancaster, Antelope Valley Hospital. And so I was born out there, and I lived in Southern California all my life, from, Ontario to Riverside to Palm Springs. And yeah, I haven't moved or lived anywhere else.
So when did Palm Springs enter your life?
So my parents are separated, but I'm from a family of 15 brothers and sisters.
Huh?
Yeah, I know. So I'm getting ready for this to explain how this all happened, and then it explains why I came out to Palm Springs. So my mom and my dad, before they were married, they had 2 children from a previous marriage. Okay? They divorced said partners, got together, had me, divorced, got married to somebody else, who who had 5 to 6 children from a previous relationship. Yeah, it's a lot.
That is a lot.
It's a lot. So technically I'm counting myself part of that 5, so it really should be 4 from a different relationship. So altogether, 15 brothers and sisters. So my mom, I've always lived with my mom, and I would see my dad every 2 weeks. She lived in Riverside, Moreno Valley. So I went to Rancho Verde High School. If you've never heard of Moreno Valley, it's okay.
Yeah. No. I've heard that.
Yeah. Moreno Valley, there's Lake Paris. It's really nice. No, Moreno Valley is my hometown, and I do love my hometown. I just, I love where I live now, and there's a difference. So my mom lived out there. When I turned 18, my dad lived in Indio, and he said, if you want, you can come to college out here, because I was in this fluctuation, again, a crossroads, the first crossroads of my life. And I didn't know what to do. And so I ended up moving out here with my dad and loved it. Stayed out here for 3 years, moved back home to finish college, and then moved from home to LA and lived out in LA for several years until I moved back to Palm Springs.
What do you like about Palm Springs?
Culture, 100%. I mean, you can be in downtown Palm Springs and experience a vibrant community, and not just the LGBTQ community, which is phenomenal out here, but experience just a vibrant community altogether. You can walk all the way from uptown Palm Springs to downtown, and you just see so many great stores, so many great people. Just the atmosphere is wonderful. It's popping. It's very culturally diverse. Mm-hmm. And then you can also go all the way to the East Valley and get this amazing you experience a Latin culture that you wouldn't necessarily experience in any other, city, where it's these families that work in the field, and they come out and they're finished with their day and they go have, food in downtown Coachella, or they're just very family oriented, where again, it's a different culture. And so I grew up in Moreno Valley, where it was predominantly Hispanic and predominantly Black. And so I was a chambelán and 2 quinceañeras. That's also why I married a Latina. Mi esposa es latina, me habla un poquito español, lo siento, yo hasta gringo. But in Coachella, you go down and it's just, you're being transported to a beautiful, wonderful area that's unlike anywhere else in the valley. You see families, these Latino families that are just, they're walking with their kids down the street and they're experiencing the night, and it's like this old town feel. And then you have like the bread place that makes, tortillas from scratch, or the local restaurant that you go and have the best menudo you've ever had in your life, which if you've never eaten menudo, it's the best hangover cure in the whole entire world.
Wow.
Hands down. Even though I'm not a tripe fan, but there are vegetarian menudos.
Okay.
Yeah, there's tripe in it. But I mean, that's what I love about this valley, is that it's so diverse, and you can get an experience just by driving 20 minutes either way. And I feel what's important to note is that this valley, there's so much diversity, and there's also so much growth. And as long as we continue to push, we're going to have that growth as a culture, mm-hmm. where our valley is considered the Coachella Valley.
Well, that's true. And everyone lives in their bubble. And I found that since I moved here from the Midwest, people are afraid to go more than 10 minutes out of their comfort zone. They feel like they're going so far. And I'm just so used to driving many, many hours to get someplace, in Chicago. So I don't mind being in there. So when you say that, Coachella sounds far, but
it's not.
Just get in there and go. When you were doing theater, did you do a lot of shows growing up? Were you in plays?
So it's funny. My first theater camp was actually out here in Palm Springs during the summer, and I forget who it was through. I don't think it was Children's Playtime Theater. And I was singing, and I sang, and I did a monologue, and it was kind of got me started. And then I was in high school, and through high school, I did theater here and there, but we never really had an awesome theater teacher. So right before the start of my senior year, by the way, I almost joined the Air Force. I got accepted to the academy on provisional acceptance because I had horrible SAT scores. I was going to be a military kid. Like, that's where I was planning on going to be an officer. Yeah. So talk about crossroads, right? That was one of them. That was the first one. So my senior year of high school, right before it started, I was doing stuff for JROTC because it was the Air Force on campus, and I was stuff. And I met the new theater teacher. And this new theater teacher, her name was Terry. Her name is Terry Nevey. It's funny because I never say Terry. I always call her Mrs. Nevey. And she made such a huge impact just within that short period of time that I met her that I decided to do theater with her and stay with the theater program. And I met her family. And then she cast me as Danny Zuko in Grease. And then she has me as Leon Tolchinsky in Fools. And then as the Prince in Little Mermaid. I mean, she was doing more productions than I ever did in my life. And it really, I mean, I was always an outward going person. I've never been a shell, you know, I'm not an
I've never seen that. So
yeah, I can talk. But she made such a huge impact on my life that's how I got really involved in theater and decided instead of going to the Air Force, and to the academy in Colorado was to stay with theater and see where it takes me. And
do you prefer directing and producing more than being on stage? Or I've seen you do all of that, so I've seen both sides of that. I haven't seen you sing though. You said you sing?
A little, yes.
Well, Danny Zuko, you know, I mean, he's a
character. An easy part. Come on,
it's a character part. It's good.
It's a character part. It's not a hard part to sing. I think that's why I got picked. Honestly, I don't have an answer because I'll tell you what I like about both of them, and then I'll tell you what I don't like about both of them.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
So what I love about acting is that it's a rush every time before you get on stage. I love that you feed off the audience. I love that everything that you've worked so hard within, the 4 to 6 weeks you've been rehearsing, and it's finally come to fruition and you get to perform. And at the end of it, you're like, that was the best damn workout I've ever had. What I don't like about acting is the memorization, but I don't think any actor would disagree, because who likes to memorize? I mean, and what really screwed me over was Neil Simon's plays, Fools, Leon Tolchinsky had literally just freaking like pages of just memorization. And you're spending hours and hours and hours of memorizing, but at the same time, you have to do that work in order to have that feeling of being on stage and loving what you did. I mean, do you like memorizing?
No.
Okay, so
I wouldn't say that it prevents me from maybe doing that, but I would much rather be directing others and helping them to get through what they need to get through. I thought memorization was challenging. So for some reason, lyrics for me are not a problem. When I did a show like Forever Plaid, where it's all music, something like that, that was easy for me because it was songs. But when you got to intersperse, with those, and you know how it is when you've just got this much dialogue and then someone else talks and you got to come back in, you got to really know when to do that. That's a lot of discipline, but no, but I love being on stage too. I haven't done an on-stage play in a long time.
Well, lucky you, because we have a position open for next season, and folks, you're hearing it first.
Let's talk a little bit about what happened this year that put you and darling Jerome and everyone had heart palpitations there for a while, and we're probably still suffering some. So what was the season schedule, and then what actually went down?
Well, I can also tie this into what I love about producing and what I don't like about producing, right? And directing. So obviously what went down was like everybody else. And as you know, Keith, because you were directing our show, we put all this hard work, months of work, and we're on the finish line, and then we're told we can't walk anymore. Yeah. And we had to do what's right. And I think as much as it was very difficult to have that decision to say, we're not doing this any further, I think it was the best thing that we could have done. Yeah. And not just because preventing the spread of coronavirus, because what Governor Gavin Newsom said on the Sunday that we were supposed to open, that everything is 100% shut down, right? First it was, okay, let's ban people from going in of like 30 or more, parties of 50 or more. And we're like, we're still in that threshold because we're only going to sit, 45 people, we're good. So it sucked. We did lose a lot of money, but at the same time, we knew it was the right thing to do. And again, it wasn't because it was just to stop the spread. I think we talk about community theater a lot, you and me, right?
Yeah.
And what a community theater should be like. And the community theater is, to me, is not something to look down upon. It's something to look up upon, because it's a group of people that are getting together to try to tell a story. And to have the actors and to have the designers all have a say in the decision of us closing down, I think was extremely important. And it didn't matter if it was 50 or 50 or one person out of the 10. It was that we all have to be on the same page. And it's just like, being a juror. Everyone either has to agree or disagree. And if there's one person, it not ruins everything, but it changes everything. So, we sat there, if you remember, we sat there for, I think, 2 to 3 hours.
It was tough.
All of us.
It was tough.
There was people crying. We were debating about it. Without naming anybody, there were some people that were very adamant and felt scared, and they had a right to be scared. And they had a right to feel the way they feel.
It's that was such a judgment call on what was the absolute right thing to do for everybody. It would have been easy for any of us to say, "Oh no, let's just get through it and
let's just do one weekend."
Let's just do one weekend. And I wouldn't have been happy with that because and still that show deserves to have its audience. It's going to happen, right? Right.
Yeah,
okay, that's good.
Plan. As long as we can get the people going and we're kind of out of this craziness. But that's one of the scary things about producing or directing is that, you put so much time into it that there's always a possibility of it not opening. And this is the second show that we've not opened in our almost 10 years of existence. And
there was a show, 2 shows after in the season. Am I correct?
There was one more show after that we didn't even get into production at all about it. I mean,
that just stings because, I know what it's like to be in your side of it where you're planning and, your audience is getting hyped up too. And then of course, then they weren't able to come in and enjoy that either.
Well, and I think, it's funny because, Francine, my wife, for the folks who don't know Francine, she's amazing. And
she's beautiful. We love her.
She's beautiful. She's smart. And she definitely she knows that this is my passion, the theater company. And it was really hard. It was really, really hard to close down the show and to close down the season. And I think what also made it harder was we truly believe this was the first year, because this was our 9th season. So this was the first season that it was every single day was setting records. And not just attendance and not just donations, but activity. From people, wanting to get on our press list to, liking us on Facebook and being a real contender and, just knowing that our work was being acknowledged was just so great. And then to stop that work really just tore everybody apart. Yeah. But that's the sad part about being a producer is that anything can change.
But then you guys put on your smarty pants hats and came up with a great plan in this interim, in this most difficult time. Tell us a little bit more about what you guys put together there.
So with a gracious grant from the California Desert Arts Council, they gifted us $1,500 or granted us $1,500 to produce 3 COVID-19 related stories that we were able to present either via Zoom or StreamYard, which was our last 2 productions. And we wanted to do it so not only can we pay the actors and directors and writers that worked with us, and you were one of our directors, and not just to get involved like one of our directors, but to really continue that creativity of what we were doing, right? As a theater company, again, part of our role is to do new and exciting work that press the barrier of our community. So the first play we did was about love, and about finding love during the pandemic and being in quarantine. and it was a beautiful play written by Felicia, and it starred her and her actual boyfriend Miguel.
Yeah.
And what a sweet story.
They're great. They were great. Yeah, it was.
Really great.
It was believable. I mean, how much more believable could it be?
I know. I was like, if we have to work on your acting, Miguel,
yeah. Oh,
then we need to talk, right?
Bless Miguel for his.
And then the second show we did was a monologue that was written by Tony Padilla, our founding artistic director, emeritus, retired. He wrote this wonderful show about this man who goes into quarantine with a chip on his shoulder. No one thinks he can change, and then he changes, and then changes right back. It was a great expose on a selfish person. Just a really selfish human being, which was a wonderful show. Which Shawn Timothy Brown was the guy who's not selfish at all. By the way, one of the nicest actors we've ever worked with.
He's a great actor. That's what I was saying. He's a great actor.
He's a great actor. And then the last show was written by Jason Hall, and it starred him and Adina Lawson. Mm. And it was about a grandson trying to connect or reconnect with his grandmother via Zoom. Yeah. And of course, there was a lot of that. There was a lot of, where do you look? And it was funny. And so I think, it's definitely not the replacement of theater, but to still continue to engage an audience.
It was a thread that was still strong, which I think was great. And Michael Pecos was also in that.
Michael Pecos was in Tony Padilla's show as well with us, because we did two versions of the monologues.
That was great. It just the opportunity to keep flexing those muscles for the actors, the writers, and then for me and you and Jerome for coming in and doing it. I think it was great. That was a lot of fun. So what's on the horizon right now for us, for you?
Well, you could say us because you're stuck now.
I'm okay with that.
So we are trying to plan for next season. Right now, we're getting all of our ducks in a row. We're doing some administration changes. So if you know of anybody that wants to join the board, please let me know, because we're trying to fill some positions. But right now we're planning on, hopefully, we don't have any dates, so we're going to say tentatively, right? That January is going to be our annual gala event. So our annual gala, which is 2 fun nights filled with music and food and booze, we plan on moving that from end of October to January.
Oh, okay.
And then doing 2 shows instead of 3 shows this upcoming season, mainly because of the drop in revenue and what we've had to, we were in a great position to, when we when we shut down How to Survive an Apocalypse, to be able to pay all of our artists that worked with us, and to be able to do that was great. But of course, that's also going to take away from the next show that we have.
Exactly.
So since we have limited time, since we want to be fiscally smart because we want to continue with our program, we're only going to do 2 shows next year and 1 gala event.
Well, that sounds great. And you guys are probably already set on getting your publicity out for that. And there's always the hopes that, everything's going to be just fine for everything. And if not, I'm sure you'll come up with something else. I know you will.
We're going to adapt. We are, again, in a different position. All of our other friends and sister companies that are out here, we're in a different position. And so our focus was for them. So, if anybody, please, obviously there will be a link somewhere if somebody would like to donate to Desert Ensemble. But if you'd also like to donate to some of the other smaller regional theaters, there's CV Rep, which is an amazing theater company. Des Art, who's one of our sister companies, because the same space. Coyote Stage Works, Desert Rose, Palm Canyon, Green Room Theater, including Desert Theater Works. There's a lot of theater companies out here that pay people on a staff level. So if you are able to donate, please donate to them, because you're helping save jobs and keeping people moving. We're a completely volunteer basis, so we're different. Please support us, but also support them too.
Well, and exactly what Shawn was saying there too. If you have the ability to give some to help continue these organizations where they can, still, pay for the light bill or whatever it takes for the places they rent and whatnot. It's a different world out there for everybody. And Shawn, I can't thank you enough for spending some time. I mean, it's always nice drinking with you.
Yeah.
I want a martini next time. That's all I'm saying.
Next time I'm actually going to make a Manhattan, because I finally just picked up some real, the special cherries that are the maraschino cherries.
Well, that'll be a fun time. We'll do that for sure. Well, thanks again, Shawn. Everybody, thanks for listening. And remember, come and see one of the shows. Come and support theater. And hope you guys enjoyed meeting my good friend, Shawn.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.